there's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah.
He said, it's my league now.
Yeah.
He said, you had your turn. Larry Bird, you had your turn. Now it's my league.
I love it.
We all
LeBron James and Kevin Durant likely expected nothing more than a relaxed, entertaining podcast moment. But the instant they began sharing their thoughts about Michael Jordan, the mood shifted, and the basketball world quickly took notice. What sounded casual at first soon became the spark for a massive reaction that no one saw coming. When Magic Johnson heard what was said, he didn't stay quiet for long. The NBA icon stepped forward with conviction, making it clear he would defend Jordan's legacy without hesitation. Suddenly, what began as light conversation transformed into a powerful generational clash, with pride, history, and reputation all on the line. Moments like this don't happen during game-winning shots or dramatic buzzer beaters. Instead, they unfold in the rare, quiet spaces away from the court, where legends speak openly, honestly, and sometimes unexpectedly. Those unguarded conversations can carry just as much impact as any championship performance. The turning point came on July 9th, 2025, a date that quickly became unforgettable in basketball conversation circles. What started as a simple exchange of opinions grew into a storm of debate, analysis, and passionate reactions across fans and media alike. Voices from every generation joined in, each defending their own view of greatness. In the end, the moment reignited a debate that has never truly faded. For more than 2 decades, fans have argued over one question that refuses to rest: who truly deserves to be called the greatest of all time? And with this unexpected exchange, that conversation roared back to life stronger than ever, louder, deeper, and more divided than before.
usually talk trash, but I had to that time. So I said, Michael, if you don't turn into Air Jordan, we're going to blow y'all out. Man, he started sweating.
It was hard.
Tongue went long. You got to get his back. You got to get his back. So and get him back. So I threw it to him. He scored. They come back. They scored. We scored. So we were talking stuff. So finally, we got...
Kevin Durant was relaxing in the studio alongside LeBron James and Steve Nash, recording an episode of Mind the Game, the show where top basketball minds unpack the realities of greatness. They talk about discipline, pressure, and what it truly takes to stay elite year after year. The vibe was easygoing at first, full of laughter, shared memories, and the kind of chemistry only legends have when they speak freely. It felt like just another thoughtful basketball conversation, until one serious topic quietly entered the room. That topic was recommitment, the question every longtime superstar eventually faces. It's the moment when even the greatest players stop and ask themselves if they still want the grind. The constant travel, the physical toll, the endless expectations, and the demand to remain legendary never really fade. The room paused, almost as if everyone understood how heavy that question truly is. Then Kevin Durant leaned forward, and everything changed. He shared a thought that sounded reflective on the surface, but carried a deeper edge that listeners instantly noticed. In seconds, the calm mood shifted, and what had been friendly conversation turned into something far more intense. Fans online reacted immediately. Debates ignited. Former players began weighing in. And suddenly, one quiet comment became the spark for a massive reaction across the basketball world. Durant spoke about reaching a point deep into a career when success is no longer the question, motivation is. He described the strange feeling of already achieving so much, yet still wondering if the drive remains the same. Then, he casually mentioned how some athletes step away to try something entirely different before returning, while others push forward without stopping. His tone was calm and thoughtful, but the meaning behind his words landed with unmistakable force, because anyone who understands basketball history knew exactly what that reference pointed to. There has only ever been one global icon who stepped away from the game at his peak to pursue professional baseball. One player who traded championship arenas for a minor league uniform. One name instantly came to mind: Michael Jordan. Inside the studio, the reaction spoke louder than any explanation. LeBron burst into laughter, the kind of deep, knowing laugh that fills a room and says everything without a single word. Observers later compared it to the dramatic storytelling energy of Dave Chappelle. It wasn't just amusement, it was recognition. Everyone understood what had just been implied. For a moment, the atmosphere felt charged. Two defining stars of the modern era were sharing a moment that seemed almost like an inside reference, one that, to many listeners, felt directed at the man whose legacy still defines basketball greatness. But what followed reached far beyond sports debate. That baseball reference didn't just recall a career decision. It touched one of the most painful periods of Jordan's life. In 1993, after leading his team to a third straight championship, he faced an unimaginable personal loss when his father, James Jordan, passed away unexpectedly. He wasn't just a parent. He was a mentor, a constant source of guidance, and the person who had supported every dream from the beginning. When Jordan stepped away from basketball, it wasn't simply about chasing another sport. It was about grief, healing, and stepping away from a spotlight that suddenly felt unbearable. To the public, it looked like a shocking career move. To those closest to him, it was something much deeper, a personal journey through loss. That's the part often forgotten when people reduce the story to headlines or quick jokes. Baseball wasn't a random choice. It was a connection to a lifelong bond between father and son. Long before championships and global fame, baseball was the game they shared, the dream they talked about together. When that moment resurfaced in conversation decades later, it carried more emotional weight than many realized. What sounded like a casual reflection opened the door to memories, meaning, and history that still resonate deeply within the sport. And just like that, a simple podcast discussion became something far bigger, a conversation about legacy, respect, and the powerful human stories that exist behind every legend.
Ask me who I would take between Kevin Durant and the Barbie Diddy James. That's a very complicated question because one loves attending them Diddy parties and the other one is a snake that defends himself with Twitter burner account. Those boys are trying their hardest, jumping from super team to super team, trying to catch up to my 6 rings. But we all know
when Michael Jordan signed with the Chicago White Sox and later took the field for the Birmingham Barons, many people assumed he was walking away from basketball. But to those who understood the full story, it wasn't about leaving the game behind. It was about moving towards something deeply personal. Every swing, every inning, carried meaning far beyond sports. His .202 batting average across 127 AA games wasn't the headline that mattered most. What truly mattered was why he chose that path in the first place. It was a quiet tribute, a deeply emotional gesture connected to a dream his father never got to see fulfilled. For Jordan, baseball became one final thank you, expressed not in words, but in action. That emotional layer is what many listeners felt was overlooked during the podcast conversation. What sounded like a simple reference to playing baseball carried a weight that went far beyond career choices. To longtime fans who knew the history, it didn't feel like harmless reflection. It felt like stepping into something deeply personal without fully recognizing its significance, and the reaction online was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, the clip spread across social media, igniting fierce debate. Fans lined up on opposing sides, defending legacies with the intensity of a championship series. Timelines filled with statistics, memories, and arguments that seemed to escalate by the minute. What began as discussion quickly turned into confrontation. Some viewers believed Kevin Durant's remark was thoughtful, a general observation about how athletes evolve, burn out, or search for new purpose. Others saw it very differently. To them, the comment seemed to reduce a deeply emotional chapter into a casual comparison, while indirectly highlighting LeBron's reputation for long-term durability. Then one viral message changed the tone completely. It reframed the conversation in stark emotional terms, reminding people that Jordan's decision came after an unimaginable personal loss. Suddenly, the debate was no longer just about greatness or career choices. It became about empathy, about understanding the human story behind public legends. Soon, one of sports media's most outspoken personalities stepped into the storm. Skip Bayless strongly criticized the remark, arguing it showed a lack of awareness and emotional sensitivity. He also took aim at the reaction inside the studio, saying the laughter amplified the perception of disrespect. While his tone was intense, many fans agreed that something important had been overlooked: perspective. Because Jordan's story didn't end with baseball, he returned to basketball and delivered one of the most remarkable second acts in sports history. 3 more championships followed. 3 more finals MVP performances. And then came the legendary 72-10 season, a campaign that still stands as one of the most dominant ever recorded. His comeback didn't just restore his legacy, it strengthened it. Jordan didn't define greatness through sheer length of career alone. He defined it through decisive dominance at the highest moments. 6 finals appearances. 6 championships. No defeats on the biggest stage. To many, that record represents something beyond longevity. It represents perfection under pressure. But the debate quickly shifted again. Durant's remark about playing baseball began getting compared directly to LeBron's 2-decade stretch of elite performance. Supporters argued that sustained excellence proves unmatched commitment. Critics countered that Jordan's era emphasized absolute supremacy at peak performance rather than endurance over time. The discussion grew louder, more emotional, and increasingly personal. As the clip kept spreading, the pressure on Durant intensified. Fans demanded clarification, tagging him constantly until he finally responded publicly. The Phoenix Suns star posted a message on X praising Jordan's greatness while also recognizing long-term excellence in modern players. He even emphasized his admiration by pointing to his extensive collection of Jordan sneakers. But by that point, opinions had already hardened. To many observers, the explanation felt too late, an attempt to calm a reaction that had already taken shape. Moments seen by millions can't easily be reinterpreted. Once people decide how something felt, explanations rarely change that first impression, and that's what made the entire situation so explosive. This wasn't commentary from an outsider chasing attention. This involved LeBron James, a player whose career has been constantly measured against Jordan's legacy, sitting beside Kevin Durant, another superstar often scrutinized for his career decisions and championship path. Their voices carry enormous influence, and every word is heard through the lens of history. In the end, what unfolded wasn't just another sports debate. It became a powerful reminder that behind every legend lies a deeply human story, one shaped not only by victories and statistics, but by loss, loyalty, and meaning that numbers can never fully capture.
You guys got more out of the practices than you got out of the actual playing.
You're right. We practice, man. When you got 10 egos out on that court like
Best
that.
in the world.
Yes, going at each other every.
2 of the defining stars of their era, LeBron James and Kevin Durant, sharing a laugh about the legacy of Michael Jordan, created a moment many basketball fans simply weren't ready to overlook. To some viewers, the visual alone felt symbolic, modern icons reacting casually to the man whose dominance shaped the league's global identity. It quickly became more than a clip. It became a statement people interpreted in very different ways. Rumors soon followed that Jordan himself responded with sharp, sarcastic remarks, the kind of competitive edge that has always defined his personality. Whether playful or pointed, the message felt unmistakable. The competitive fire that built his legacy never truly left. And just like that, the situation grew bigger than anyone expected, because history has shown one thing again and again. When someone challenges the throne, the reaction rarely stays quiet. In the days that followed, the basketball world didn't just respond, it erupted. The long-running Jordan versus LeBron debate, which had simmered for years, exploded back into the spotlight with renewed intensity. What had once been a slow-burn argument turned into a full-scale generational clash, fueled by pride, memory, and loyalty to different eras of the game. Former players who had stayed neutral for years finally spoke out. Veterans who had carefully avoided controversy decided they had heard enough. Interviews, social media posts, podcasts, everywhere, voices from past generations stepped forward, determined to defend the legacy they believed was being misunderstood. Kwame Brown fires back at modern NBA culture. One of the loudest responses came from Kwame Brown, the former #1 overall draft pick who has rebuilt his public voice through online commentary. His reaction video spread rapidly, pulling in massive attention within days. But he didn't just defend Jordan. He challenged what he called a growing culture of casual disrespect toward past legends. Brown's message was emotional, direct, and deeply personal. He reminded viewers of the timeline many people overlook: Jordan winning 3 straight championships, then suffering devastating personal loss, and stepping away to pursue something meaningful to his father. To Brown, that decision wasn't weakness or escape. It was human. He went further, criticizing what he viewed as contradictions in how modern stars are judged compared to past players. He argued that earlier generations faced challenges head-on, while today's stars often reshape situations around themselves. His words weren't just commentary. They were a defense of an entire basketball philosophy built on endurance, rivalry, and loyalty. The debate had officially moved beyond one comment. Now it was about identity. What defines greatness, and what kind of path earns respect? Gilbert Arenas adds context to the pressure Jordan faced. Gilbert Arenas joined the conversation with a different perspective, focusing on the environment surrounding Jordan's departure from basketball. He reminded fans that the moment wasn't just emotional, it was also surrounded by intense public scrutiny, relentless media attention, and constant speculation. According to Arenas, the pressure Jordan faced was unlike anything modern players experience today. The spotlight never dimmed. Every decision, every rumor, every movement became global news. He argued that Jordan didn't simply step away from competition. He stepped away from overwhelming pressure that few athletes could truly understand. His comments reframed the story again. The discussion wasn't just about personal choice anymore. It became about the weight of fame itself. Charles Barkley challenges the era of super teams. Then came Charles Barkley, never one to soften his words. With his trademark mix of humor and blunt honesty, he shifted the focus toward modern team-building trends. His criticism centered on the rise of superstar alliances and the idea of joining already dominant rosters. Barkley's argument was simple but powerful. True greatness proves itself through struggle, not convenience. He pointed to Jordan's repeated battles with the Detroit Pistons, years of physical, punishing defeats that eventually fueled growth rather than retreat. In his view, perseverance against rivals defined Jordan's journey. His comments also reignited discussion around Durant's controversial move to the Golden State Warriors, a decision that reshaped the league's balance of power. Barkley suggested that joining an already dominant team changes how championships are perceived, no matter how impressive the performance. For many fans, his words felt less like criticism of individuals and more like a defense of competitive tradition. Steve Kerr and the mindset comparison. As the debate intensified, past comments from Steve Kerr resurfaced and spread rapidly online. Having played alongside Jordan during the Chicago Bulls dynasty, Kerr's perspective carried unique credibility. He once drew a sharp distinction between styles of greatness, noting that while LeBron's achievements are extraordinary, Jordan's competitive mindset felt singular. Kerr also compared that relentless mentality to Kobe Bryant, describing a shared psychological intensity that defined their approach to the game. That comparison added another layer to the discussion, shifting attention from statistics and championships to mentality itself. What truly defines greatness? Longevity, dominance, or mindset?